Money shows people's true colors, Abigail. My grandmother Martha told me on her deathbed, her weathered hands clutching an envelope I wouldn't understand the significance of until years later. When the time comes, look closely at who controls the purse strings in this family. Those were her last words to me, and 5 years later, as I stand outside this upscale Italian restaurant on a cold Thanksgiving evening, watching my family through frosted windows, I finally understand what she meant. Thanksgiving has always been sacred in our family. My mother Linda's herb-roasted turkey, the endless parade of pies, the loud arguments over board games, and the inevitable storytelling that ends with someone crying or laughing so hard they choke on their wine. It's messy, imperfect, but it's ours. Or at least, it was. So when my phone stayed silent this year, no text about the menu, no group chat full of chaotic planning, I knew something was wrong. Maybe Mom was overwhelmed, I told myself. Maybe the tradition had gotten too hard to keep up. I waited, checking my phone more often than I care to admit, but the silence stretched on like a wire about to snap. Finally, I called her. "Hey, Mom," I said lightly, pretending not to feel the tightness in my chest. "Just wondering what the plan is for Thanksgiving this year." "Oh, sweetie," she replied, her tone syrupy but brittle underneath. "We're not doing anything this year. Everyone's just too busy, work, travel, you know how it is." I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. Right. Makes sense. But it didn't. Not really. Because just last month, during my nephew's birthday party, the one I helped pay for when Megan claimed she was short on cash, my sister wouldn't stop talking about how excited she was for Mom's sage stuffing and Dad's cranberry sauce from the can. They were already making plans then. So what changed? Or rather, what hadn't changed? I, Abigail, the quiet one, the divorced one, the one who'd taken time off from her own healing to help Mom when she had surgery last spring, the one who'd emptied her savings account to cover the $40,000 medical bills that insurance wouldn't touch, I was the only one who hadn't changed. And maybe that was the problem. Megan had once joked that I was the family's walking ATM. I thought it was a bad joke. Now I realize it might have been a confession. The days passed. No texts. No calls. No group photo like every year with everyone wearing autumn colors and holding up wine glasses. Maybe they really weren't doing anything, I told myself. I had work to catch up on anyway. Maybe I'd order Chinese food and watch a movie. But on Thanksgiving evening, around 6, the quiet in my apartment felt suffocating. The city outside was deserted, the only sound was the low hum of my refrigerator and the clinking of dishes I imagined from every other apartment on the block. So I grabbed my coat and decided to walk. Maybe I'd grab a coffee, clear my head. That's when I saw it. Through the frosted window of that expensive Italian place my parents loved, the same place where I'd written them a check for $15,000 just 3 months ago when Dad's business was temporarily struggling, there they were. All of them. Mom, Dad, Megan, her husband, my 2 nephews, even Uncle Roy who supposedly couldn't travel this year because of his back. They were seated around a large candlelit table, plates piled high with food, laughter erupting from the group like music. I froze. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't bad timing. It was a choice. I stood outside for a full minute before pushing the door open, driven more by instinct than logic. The warmth and noise hit me all at once, laughter, silverware clinking, the scent of truffle and butter. Heads turned. Conversation halted. Megan saw me first, her smile fading. "What are you doing here?" "I was just walking by," I said, my voice thinner than I wanted it to be. Mom recovered first. "Abigail, we didn't think you'd want to come. You've been so busy with everything." "Everything?" My voice shook. "You told me Thanksgiving was cancelled." My father cleared his throat, suddenly interested in his water glass, the same father who'd promised to start paying me back next month, for the past 2 years. Megan leaned back in her chair, a cruel smile playing on her lips. "Well, maybe we just thought it'd be more comfortable this way." "What does that mean?" "You don't really belong in this family anymore," she said. And then laughter, like it was a joke, like I was the punchline. I didn't cry. Not then. I simply nodded, turned, and walked out. The cold air outside slapped my face, but it felt kinder than anything that had just happened inside. I walked home in a daze, numb to the cars passing, the holiday lights twinkling in storefronts, the smell of roasted turkey wafting from every direction. My phone buzzed with a notification, an email from work. I deleted it without reading. That night, I sat on my couch staring at the ceiling for hours. I thought about all the years I'd been there for them. How many times I'd rearranged my life and my bank account to show up. The holidays I'd spent cooking when Mom was sick. The birthdays I'd planned for Megan's kids. The nights I'd held her hand through her own divorce while simultaneously paying for her lawyer. And now I was just cut out. Like I didn't exist. Like I had never existed. But I wasn't going to cry. Not that night. Because deep inside, something else was beginning to stir. Something stronger than grief. Something colder than disappointment. Something that would wait until tomorrow. What they didn't know was that 2 days ago, Aunt Carol had called me with information that would change everything. Information about a $40,000 inheritance my grandmother had left specifically for me. Money that had mysteriously disappeared. Money that my mother had somehow managed when my grandmother got sick. They thought they could erase me from the family portrait. They were about to learn how wrong they were. But first, I needed to make a few calls. Starting with the forensic accountant who specialized in family financial fraud. The next morning, I woke up early, not because I had anywhere to be, but because sleep had become impossible. My mind kept replaying the scene at the restaurant, but something else was gnawing at me, Aunt Carol's revelations about my grandmother's inheritance. I opened my laptop and did something I hadn't done in years. I started documenting everything. Every loan, every temporary financial help, every time they promised to pay me back. The numbers made my stomach turn. Mom's surgery, $40,000. Dad's business loan, $15,000. Megan's divorce lawyer, $12,000. Various emergency expenses, $23,000. Total, $90,000. Then my phone buzzed. A text from Megan, "Hey, hope you're okay. Mom says you've been acting weird. Want to grab coffee?" I stared at the screen, my hands shaking. No apology. No acknowledgement. Just another attempt to manipulate me back into line. As I was about to delete the message, something caught my eye, Megan's Instagram story. My blood ran cold. There it was, a picture from last night's dinner, everyone smiling, even Mom who hadn't smiled like that in any photo I'd seen in years. The caption read, "Grateful for the ones who matter most. Hashtag family first." I took a screenshot. Evidence. But that wasn't what made my heart stop. In the background of the photo, partially visible on the table, was a familiar blue folder, the same type of folder my grandmother's lawyer used for important documents. I called Aunt Carol immediately. "The documents," I said without preamble. "What exactly did they look like?" "Blue legal folders," she replied. "Martha kept everything organized." "Why?" "I think I just saw them. At the restaurant. They still have them." Silence on the line. Then, "Abigail, listen carefully. If they still have those documents, we might be able to prove everything. But you need to be smart about this. They can't know we're looking." Just then, another text came in, from my father, "Need to discuss something important. Come over for dinner tomorrow?" I felt a chill. They never invited me over for dinner unless they needed money. "They're inviting me over," I told Carol. "Tomorrow night." "Perfect," she said. "Go. Act normal. But keep your phone on record. And Abigail? Be careful. When people feel cornered, especially family, they can be dangerous." The next evening, I pulled up to my parents' house. The same house I'd helped them keep with my loans. My hands were sweating as I checked my phone's recording app one last time. Mom opened the door with her brightest smile, the one she used when she was about to ask for something. "Sweetie. Come in, come in. I made your favorite lasagna." The house smelled like garlic and ulterior motives. Dad was in his usual chair, looking uncomfortable. Megan sat on the couch, scrolling through her phone with practiced disinterest. No sign of her husband or kids. "We need to talk about something," Mom said as we sat down. "Your father and I have been thinking." I waited, my phone silently recording in my pocket. "We're getting older," she continued, "and we've been worried about the future. The house needs some repairs, and with your father's business struggles. Here it comes. We were wondering if you could help us refinance. Just a small loan, maybe $50,000? We'd put your name on the house title, of course." I almost laughed. Almost. Like the $40,000 inheritance you were supposed to give me? The words left my mouth before I could stop them. The room froze. Mom's smile faltered. Dad suddenly found the carpet fascinating. But Megan's head snapped up, her eyes narrow. "What inheritance?" she asked, but her tone said she knew exactly what I was talking about. "The one Grandma Martha left me. The one that mysteriously disappeared after she died." Mom's face went pale. "That money was for the family," she whispered. "We needed it more than I did." I finished. "Like you needed the $90,000 I've given you over the years? Money I'll never see again." "You're being dramatic," Megan cut in. "Always the victim, aren't you? Some of us have real responsibilities, children to raise, businesses to run. And lawyers to pay?" I asked sweetly. "How is that going, by the way? The divorce settlement you couldn't afford without my help?" She stood up so fast her phone clattered to the floor. As she bent to pick it up, something fell from her purse, a blue folder. My heart stopped. Dad saw where I was looking and moved to block my view, but it was too late. I'd seen the label, Martha Turner Estate, Final Documents. "Why do you have those?" I asked, my voice shaking. "Abigail," Mom started, her tone warning. "No," I stood up. "I want to know why you have Grandma's estate documents. Documents that should be with her lawyer." "Sit down," Dad said firmly. "You don't understand." "I understand perfectly," I said, reaching for the folder. "I understand that you've been lying to me for years." Megan snatched the folder first, clutching it to her chest. "You want to know the truth? Fine. Grandma was going to leave you everything. Everything. Because you were her special granddaughter, her true heir. But you know what? You didn't deserve it. You with your perfect job, your perfect life." "Perfect life?" I laughed bitterly. "I emptied my savings for this family. I put my life on hold every time you needed me." Exactly. Mom cut in, her voice sharp. "You could afford to help. You had no family to support, no real responsibilities. It was your duty to help us." "My duty." The word felt like ash in my mouth. "Was it your duty to steal from me?" "We didn't steal," Dad protested weakly. "We redistributed." "You redistributed my inheritance? My savings? My future?" Each word felt like a knife. "And now you want more?" "We're family," Mom said, her eyes filling with tears. "Family helps each other." "No," I said, pulling out my phone and stopping the recording. "Family doesn't steal from each other. Family doesn't lie and manipulate and gaslight. And family definitely doesn't exclude someone from Thanksgiving dinner after taking nearly $100,000 from them." Their faces as they realized I'd been recording everything, that's something I'll never forget. "You wouldn't," Megan whispered. "Try me," I said, standing up. "I want every document related to Grandma's estate on my lawyer's desk by Monday morning. Every bank statement, every transfer record, everything. Or this recording goes to the police." "You'd send your own parents to jail?" Dad asked, his voice breaking. "You stole my inheritance," I replied calmly. "You stole my savings. You stole my trust. The real question is, would you send yourselves to jail?" As I walked to the door, Mom called out, "Abigail, please. We can work this out." We're family. I turned back one last time. No, Mom. We're not family. We're victims and perpetrators. And I'm done being your victim. The night air was cold as I walked to my car, but for the first time in years, I felt warm inside. Strong. Free. My phone buzzed. Aunt Carol, did you get it? Better, I replied. I got a confession. On record. Good girl, she said. Now, let me introduce you to my friend at the FBI's Financial Crimes Division. I think she'll find your family's creative accounting very interesting. I started my car, watching my parents' house fade in the rearview mirror. Tomorrow would be hard. The next few months would be harder. But for now, I had something I hadn't had in years: power. The morning after I got the evidence, I decided to confront them one final time, not at their house, but at the weekly family dinner they'd been hiding from me. This time, I wasn't going to walk away. I waited in my car outside the restaurant, watching them arrive one by one. Mom and Dad first, then Megan and her husband, their kids dropped off at a sitter's. Even Uncle Roy showed up, blissfully unaware of the storm about to break. My hands weren't shaking anymore when I walked in. Agent Wilson's words echoed in my mind, "You have all the power now. Use it." The hostess knew me, I'd paid enough family dinner bills here to be remembered. She led me straight to their table. "Well, look who's crashing dinner again," Megan sneered, but I caught the flicker of unease in her eyes. I pulled out an empty chair. "Oh, I'm not crashing. In fact, I'm hosting." I turned to the waitress hovering nearby. "Everything they order goes on my tab tonight. It's a special occasion." Mom's forced smile faltered. "Abigail, sweetie, what are you doing?" What I should have done years ago. I pulled out a thick manila envelope. "Let's talk about Grandma Martha's inheritance." The temperature at the table seemed to drop 20 degrees. Uncle Roy looked confused. Martha's inheritance? I thought that was all settled years ago. "Oh, it was settled all right," I said, spreading documents across the table. Settled right into Mom's secret account. Then Megan's business. Then Dad's golf club membership. "That's enough," Mom hissed, reaching for the papers. I caught her wrist. "No, Mom. For once in your life, you're going to listen." My voice carried. Heads turned at nearby tables. Good. 5 years of lies. $90,000 of my money. 40,000 of Grandma's. "Do you want to tell Uncle Roy how much you took from his accounts, or should I?" Roy's fork clattered to his plate. "What?" Megan stood up so fast her chair nearly toppled. "You're making a scene." "No, you made the scene," I countered, my voice ice cold. "Every time you posted those perfect family photos while stealing from your own sister. Every time you called me for emergency money while buying new cars. Every time you excluded me from family events after I'd given you everything I had. We needed it more than you." Mom burst out, then immediately covered her mouth. The restaurant had gone quiet. Every eye was on us. More than me. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. More than when I was struggling after my divorce 3 years ago? More than when I had to take a second job these past 2 years to cover the loans you never repaid? More than when I had to postpone buying a house because I'd emptied my savings, $55,000, for your medical bills. Dad tried to intervene. "Princess, please. Don't you dare princess me," I cut him off. "Not after you watched them steal my inheritance. Not after you helped them hide it." I turned to Uncle Roy. "Check your accounts. All of them. Mom's been managing those too. Ask your accountant about mysterious transfers to shell companies owned by Megan's real estate firm." Roy's face went from confused to thunderous. He pulled out his phone, fingers shaking as he opened his banking app. "Megan's firm," he growled. "Linda, what is she talking about?" Mom was paper white now. "Roy, I can explain." "Explain the $200,000 missing from my retirement account?" He showed her his phone screen. "Is that what you're going to explain?" Megan's husband started to stand. This is ridiculous. We're leaving. Sit down, I commanded. Unless you want me to start talking about your role in all this. The cyber attacks? The fraudulent property deals. He sank back down, color draining from his face. You think you can prove any of this? Megan challenged, but her voice wavered. I smiled. Already have. The FBI is very interested in your creative accounting. They're probably getting search warrants right now. The FBI? Mom whispered. You stole from the wrong person, Mom. Grandma Martha taught me better than to let family bleed me dry. We're your family. Megan shouted. No, I said quietly. You're thieves who happen to share my DNA. And now you're going to face the consequences. I stood up, dropping a stack of papers on the table. These are copies of everything I've given to the FBI. Bank records. Transfer documents. Your text messages about hiding the money. Even that cute little recording from the other night where you admitted to stealing my inheritance. Mom started to cry. Not her usual manipulative tears, real, ugly sobs. Just then, Megan's eldest son Tommy, 12, came running up. He must have walked from the sitter's house nearby. Mom? What's happening? His voice cracked. Why are there police? Megan froze. Tommy, baby, go back to Sarah's house. Is it true? He looked at me, his aunt, tears in his eyes. Did you steal from everyone? Is that why we always had new things but couldn't pay for my soccer camp? I stepped toward him, but he backed away. I trusted you, he said to his mother. When Dad said you were lying about money during the divorce, I defended you. Megan crumpled. For the first time, I saw her perfect mask completely shatter. Officer, I said quietly, can she have a moment with her son? They allowed it, keeping her cuffed but letting her speak to Tommy. What they said was too quiet to hear, but I saw him shake his head and back away from her. I want to go live with Dad, he said loudly enough for everyone to hear. At least he didn't lie about being a thief. That's when Mom broke completely. This is all your fault, she screamed at me, struggling against the officers. You spoiled, ungrateful child. I gave you everything. No, Mom, I said calmly. You took everything. And here's what you never understood, Grandma Martha knew you would. I pulled out one final document, the letter my grandmother had left with her lawyer, to be opened only if her estate was contested. Dear Linda, I read aloud, if you're reading this, it means you've done exactly what I feared. You've tried to take what isn't yours, just like you took from me all those years ago. Mom went still. Yes, I know about the money you stole from my accounts when your father was sick. I forgave you then because you were desperate. But I watched you teach the same patterns to Megan, watched you both prey on those who trusted you. Nearby diners were filming now. Let them. I'm leaving my estate to Abigail not because I love her more, but because she's the only one strong enough to break this cycle. The only one who saw through your manipulations even as a child. Dad suddenly spoke up. She's right, Linda. Even when Abigail was 10, she asked me why you always made her feel guilty for having her own money. I should have listened then. Mom turned on him. You weak, pathetic man. You were happy enough to spend that money on your golf memberships. Yes, he said quietly. I was weak. I let you destroy our daughter's trust because I was too cowardly to stop you. Abigail, he looked at me, I don't expect forgiveness. But you should know, I'm proud of you for being stronger than I ever was. It was the first honest thing I'd heard from him in years. The officers started moving them toward the cars again, but Mom wasn't finished. I did it for us, she shrieked. Everything I did was for this family. No, Uncle Roy stepped forward. Everything you did was for yourself. You stole my retirement to fund Megan's fake real estate empire. You took Abigail's inheritance to pay for your country club lifestyle. You robbed your own mother-in-law on her deathbed. More family members were arriving now, drawn by urgent texts and calls. Cousin Jennifer, Aunt Patricia, even Megan's ex-husband with their younger son. How much? Jennifer demanded. How much did you steal from my college fund? Mom's face went blank. The same expression she'd worn when I was a child and caught her in a lie. Linda, Aunt Patricia's voice shook. Did you forge my signature on those loan documents last year? The truth was unraveling faster than Mom could spin new lies. Megan made one last attempt. Everything I have, I earned. My business was built on fraud, her ex-husband cut in. The SEC has been investigating you for the past 18 months. That's the real reason you took $35,000 from Abigail last spring, isn't it? To cover your tracks. I watched my sister's designer mascara run down her face in black streaks. Officer, I said, I think you'll find some interesting documents in that blue folder. Including forged signatures, fraudulent property deals, and evidence of tax evasion going back at least 6 years. As they were finally loaded into the police cars, I turned to Tommy and his younger brother. I'm sorry you had to see this, I said softly. But you deserve to know the truth. Tommy looked up at me, his young face too serious. Grandma Martha used to say that the truth hurts, but lies destroy. I get it now. Watching the police cars drive away, Carol put her arm around my shoulders. Ready to go? I looked at the gathered family members, the ones who had been victimized, the ones who were just learning the truth, the ones who had suspected but never spoken up. Not yet, I said. I think we all need to talk. We ended up taking over the restaurant's private room. Stories poured out, years of financial manipulation, emotional abuse, stolen opportunities. Mom and Megan hadn't just stolen money, they'd stolen dreams, trust, and time. I could have gone to medical school, Jennifer said quietly. But Mom told me my college fund had been lost in bad investments. I nearly lost my house, Aunt Patricia added. The loans she forged in my name. Uncle Roy shook his head. She told me she was investing my retirement in special opportunities. I trusted my own sister. As each person spoke, a pattern emerged. Mom had played us all against each other, using guilt and family obligation to hide her schemes. Megan had learned from the best, turning her real estate business into a front for laundering the stolen money. Someone ordered wine. Then dinner. Hours passed as we pieced together the full scope of their deception. What happens now? Tommy asked, his head resting against his father's shoulder. I looked around the table at my real family, not the perfect image Mom and Megan had tried to maintain, but the wounded, healing, honest people who remained. Now, I said, we build something better. Something true. Carol raised her glass. To truth. And to Martha, who saw it all coming. As we clinked glasses, I felt a weight lift. The family portrait was being redrawn, and this time, every brush stroke would be honest. The next week, the criminal charges detailed 5 years of systematic fraud. Mom, 8 years for fraud and tax evasion, covering the period from Grandma's death to present. Megan, 12 years for fraud, money laundering, and cybercrime attempt, with evidence of criminal activity starting shortly after Grandma's death. Dad, 5 years for complicity in the 5-year scheme. Megan's husband, 3 years for cybercrime activities over the past 2 years. But the sentences were just the beginning. The civil suits started rolling in. Their perfectly crafted world crumbled piece by piece. The country club membership, revoked. The luxury cars, repossessed. The mansion, seized. And me? I started a foundation to help victims of family financial abuse. Wrote a book that became a bestseller, Blood Money, Surviving Family Fraud. The advance alone was $500,000. Every penny went to helping other victims reclaim their lives, their dignity, their power. Because sometimes, the deepest wounds come from those who claim to love us most. And sometimes, the greatest victory is simply telling the truth. 1 year after that fateful Thanksgiving night, I stood in my kitchen, baking cookies with Tommy and his younger brother. The scent of vanilla and childhood memories filled the air, but this time, there were no strings attached, no guilt to swallow with the sweetness. Aunt Abigail, Tommy asked, flour dusting his nose, do you miss them sometimes? The question stopped me. Behind us, Carol was setting the table for our weekly family dinner, real family, the kind that builds you up instead of tearing you down. I miss who I thought they were, I answered honestly. I miss the family I imagined we could be. Tommy nodded, wise beyond his 12 years. Me too. But I like our new family better. Nobody lies here. My heart swelled. These moments, honest, messy, flower-covered moments, were worth more than all the perfect family portraits Mom had ever staged. Last week, I'd received 3 letters from prison. Mom's was full of familiar manipulation. I only did it because I loved you too much. Megan's contained thinly veiled threats about her eventual release. Dad's was just a single line, I'm sorry I was too weak to protect you. I'd added them to the box of unread letters in my closet. Not because they still had power over me, but because someday, they'd be evidence that pain can become purpose. The local newspaper had run a follow-up story about their downfall. Mom, once the queen of the country club, now wore prison beige and served meals to other inmates. Her carefully maintained social status had crumbled like the house of cards it always was. Megan's designer clothes had been auctioned to pay restitution. Her perfectly curated Instagram, once full of fake success and staged family moments, was now a digital memorial to deception. Her former clients had created a support group for fraud victims. Dad's golf trophies had been removed from the club's display case. His name, scratched out of plaques and membership rolls, was now synonymous with complicit coward in the circles he'd once dominated. But their fall wasn't my focus anymore. My foundation had just opened its 3rd office, specifically helping victims of family financial abuse. The support groups we ran were always full, people finding strength in sharing their stories of betrayal and recovery. Your pain has become a lighthouse, my therapist had said. It's guiding others home. We gathered around my dining table, cousin Jennifer, now in medical school at 35, Aunt Patricia, finally dating again after the fraud discovery, Uncle Roy, teaching financial literacy at the senior center. The room filled with honest laughter and real conversation. Later that night, after everyone had gone home, I found a note Tommy had left in the cookie jar. Dear Aunt Abigail. Mom's lawyer said she wants to see me. Dad says it's my choice. I choose no. I choose our new family instead. The one that tells the truth. Love, Tommy. I held the note to my chest, remembering the little boy who'd witnessed his mother's arrest, who'd learned too young that love sometimes wears a liar's face. My phone buzzed, another prison call attempt for Mom. Like the 100 before it, it went to voicemail. Some doors need to stay closed for healing to happen. Instead, I opened my laptop and started writing the next chapter of my book series, Rebuilding After Betrayal, Finding Family and Truth. They taught me that blood is thicker than water. But they forgot that water is clearer. And in that clarity, I found my real strength. Somewhere out there, 3 prison cells held the people who once controlled my life. But they didn't matter anymore. I was too busy living. Too busy loving. Too busy being the person Grandma Martha always knew I could be. Sometimes, the deepest wounds come from family. But sometimes, those wounds become doorways to a better life. And that's an inheritance worth more than gold.